Now, away from that, the federal government is desperately seeking measures to check the free fall of the naira against stronger global currencies. Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has secured a $3 billion emergency crude repayment loan from African Export-Import Bank for the purpose of stabilizing the naira. The deal was disclosed in a statement which was signed at Afri-Exim Bank's headquarters in Cairo, Egypt on Wednesday. Now, the NNPC said the commitment later will enable it to support the federal government in its ongoing fiscal and monetary policy reforms aimed at stabilizing the exchange rate market. It will also provide some immediate disbursement to cushion the steady decline of the naira. Let's understand this a little better. We have the former president of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Muda Yusuf. Mr. Yusuf, thank you for giving us your time.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure to be with you.
When ordinary Nigerians hear loan, the next word that comes to mind isn't relief. I want you to explain to us how this loan is a relief for the naira.
Well, it's a relief in the sense that we have been having major challenges of volatility and illiquidity in the foreign exchange market. And that has been creating all manner of confidence crisis in the economy. It's affecting investment, it's affecting prices, and it's also causing capital flight. So this arrangement, I think, will provide a relief, at least in the meantime, to stabilize the foreign exchange market. And it's a better option than going to the euro bond market to borrow money at a very prohibitive rate, or to be going to IMF and struggling with all the conditionalities in the IMF. And this is the beauty of having very quality assets that you can leverage upon to raise funds when you have a short-term liquidity challenge. So at least it's a short-term problem, and it's a short-term solution. I think it's a very good development, which will help to stabilize the foreign exchange market.
There are concerns being expressed, a couple of them. I'll take this one. How did it become the duty of the NNPCL to stabilize the naira? Help us understand this. In what areas do the NNPC and the Central Bank of Nigeria have overlapping responsibilities?
Well, a bit of audio issues, but what I think will happen is that this will come from the cash flow of the NNPC. It's like giving the country a kind of advance payment of royalties and taxes, which normally the NNPC provides to government. Don't forget, NNPC is a state-owned company, 100% owned by government, even though it's a limited liability company. So within its own corporate structure, it can make this liquidity available. It may affect the future cash flow of NNPC, but it will help to solve a major macroeconomic problem. Because when you have a confidence crisis in your foreign exchange market, it could destabilize and it could disrupt, and it could cause very serious dislocations in the economy.
Dr. Yusuf, if I may interject, I wanted
this kind of intervention.
If I may interject, I'll try and take it slowly so you can actually hear me. I'm trying to understand the connection, how the responsibility of the NNPCL and the CBN are overlapping in this instance. How is it NNPC that is securing this loan and not the CBN?
No, you see, the responsibility of stabilizing or supporting the currency belongs to the government. And the government can use the resources that's available either from the reserves in the CBN or from other ways where foreign exchange can be sourced, either through borrowing from the IMF or borrowing from the commercial market like the Eurobond. But if the government has a company that has the capacity to provide the liquidity to strengthen the reserves, the government can as well do it. It's a much better option. And since the company belongs to the government can leverage on it to generate liquidity for the foreign exchange market. So the whole idea is to stabilize the market, because whatever revenues come, either in foreign exchange or whatever, from NNPC normally goes into the central bank accounts in form of reserves. That is why we talk about accretion to reserves. And most of our reserves actually come from the oil sector. So this is also coming from the oil sector through the NNPC. So it's not anything unusual. The only thing is that it's coming in form of an advance payment of what should normally come from the NNPC.
Okay, there are concerns about this nation's borrowing, and then there are concerns about terms and condition. But what is more concerning for some people is the fact that this loan is on production that hasn't yet occurred yet. Who is going to be, if I understand correctly, please correct me, it is on refined products at the end of the day. Who is going to our refineries are not really up there. Is it the Dangote refinery that is going to provide this?
No, again, audio issues, but the point is that NNPC is a very credible institution. It has very sound fundamentals. And that is why I believe the Afrexim Bank has that confidence, to be able to make these funds available. And it's going to come in tranches just to ease liquidity. And as we go along, the pressure on the foreign exchange market will also reduce. First, if we're able to restore confidence in the market. Secondly, if we're able to remove all the speculative activities in the market, which is arising from lack of confidence. Third, if we're able to refine petroleum products locally, and I'm sure that we are making some progress in that, either through the government-owned refineries or through Dangote. We are hoping that by the end of this year, or worst case scenario, first quarter of next year, we'll have this refineries working, so that the pressure of foreign exchange demand that is coming from the petroleum imports will reduce. So once we have that, and we have general confidence in the economy, we expect some even inflows, both from foreign portfolio investors and from foreign direct investors. All these things are functions of confidence. And once we're able to stabilize the macroeconomic environment through these measures, confidence will grow and we have more influence of foreign exchange.
You've talked a lot about confidence. What's your confidence level that Nigeria is not going to default in this loan agreement? And what are some of the likely terms that may not be in our interest? Because people need to know. On the flip side of it, we're talking about how good it is. But is there a downside? Is there areas that we should be concerned about?
Well, the only issue that you may need to worry about is about the cash flow of the NNPC itself. But NNPC is a limited liability company. So whatever NNPC borrows in terms of getting monies from elsewhere is not exactly part of our public debt. Exactly, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same thing as if a government institution like a central bank and all of that goes ahead to borrow and mortgage maybe our reserves. This is a company that has been adjudged to be credible, to have very good fundamentals, and based on that, this credit facility is made available. And if you look at what is happening generally in the oil and gas sector, the oil prices and all of that, any good company in oil and gas upstream producing, and NNPC has very good fundamentals. It has a lot of assets. So it has that credibility. So, and it is not part of, this is not going to be part of public debt. It's not going to, it's coming from a company, but the company is owned by the government, just like Saudi Aramco. When the Saudi government needed to raise some funds to ease liquidity in the economy, they sold just 1.5% shares of Saudi Aramco. And they were able to raise $25.6 billion dollars. So by selling 1% of the share, and Saudi Aramco is our own equivalent of NNPC. It's owned by the Saudi government.
All right.
Just 1.5% shares, they were able to raise over $25 billion.
Dr. Yusuf, you seem to have some faith in this latest acquisition by Nigeria. We're hoping for the best, and I'm sure we'll be coming back to talk with you in the coming days on this subject. Thank you very much for giving us your time.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.